let's go over to the Viking side of things. Let's talk about a real 14-win team here with some big expectations, real expectations. The Vikings and the Bears on Monday Night Football, and it's just so exciting. Like we talk about, things we're looking forward to, things we might be concerned about. These teams in the NFC North are so good and so interesting that you can just go on for, like, I love how right there we just talked about all four sides, for both teams, because there's just a ton of talent and a ton of expectations that you don't see in the other divisions. So, Ziggy, I'll go to you first. As a Viking fan, I think as a Viking fan, despite what our comment section might say, what are you looking forward to? And maybe let's veer off McCarthy, because we all know we're excited about JJ McCarthy. What else do you want to see from this Viking team?
Can I say Justin Jefferson having a healthy hamstring?
Sure. I mean, that actually is, that's massive.
I mean, I'm not going to go there because I don't want to think about Justin Jefferson and injured hamstring. We saw what that did in 2023. He only put up 1,100 yards, worst season of his career. But the thing I'm most excited to see actually is guys that we sort of forgotten about on this offense, I think, is really good players. Everybody talks about Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, but Adam Thielen is back in town and TJ Hawkinson has been healthy for the first time in an offseason. Darrisaw, we'll see when he's able to come back, but between that and the new additions on the offensive line, even if Justin Jefferson misses week 1, even with Jordan Addison out for a suspension, I'm really excited to see all the talent on this Vikings offense. There's so many players here who can take over games. I think people have forgotten, especially of Hawkinson after last year. I know you're thinking, you're like, what am I going to title this? How am I going to put TJ Hawkinson in the thumbnail of this video? He's an exciting player, and I really think a lot of people have forgotten about him. The 1-2 punch of Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. It feels like cheating to say the entire Vikings offense, but I think around the NFL, people have forgotten just how much talent is on this team. I'm really excited to see what they're going to be able to do week 1 against the Bears defense that has been vulnerable in the past.
And I'm going to step in for Andy for a second here and say, if Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson are out, Ziggy, like
Hawkinson 200 yards.
I don't know. Like, I'm sure Andy's sitting here going like, man, if Addison and Jefferson are out, Ziggy's out here talking about 35-year-old Adam Thielen lighting the league on fire again. Like, we have bigger.
He was a good player last year.
We have a lot of concerns. We have a lot of concerns if Jefferson misses this one for JJ's first game. I'll narrow in a little bit, Ziggy. I want to see the new pieces on the offensive line. Like, I'd love to. We've been talking about it and complaining about it for years. Wanting to revamp that. We finally did it. And Donovan Jackson has kind of been up and down throughout training camp. We still have Kelly and Fries are coming off big injuries. So if these guys come out here, and hopefully Darrisaw plays, we'll see. But if these guys come out here and just start pushing guys around, and Aaron Jones is having a good day on the ground, JJ has time to throw, that gets me really excited about what this offense can become. If they're just getting abused by Javon Dexter and Sweat's having a big game, we've seen that in Chicago a lot. Like we've gone to Chicago, their defense wins the day up front, and I remember we have Kirk who couldn't move for so long. Just watching Kirk get sacked time and time again. I want to see the offensive line really take it to Chicago, and I think that would help settle JJ in. And really bode well for the rest of the year, because this group could be a top 5 unit in football. But there's just there's question marks across the board, whether it's injuries or an experience. How about you, Andy? Viking offense, is there something let me guess, is it JJ McCarthy being horrendous?
Yeah, no, there's a couple things I want to get to. First of all, can you imagine if Joe Burger was still on this team and you had Burger and Fries on the offensive line?
Right.
Like, how amazing would that have ultimately been? What a missed opportunity overall. But you guys have to be the first Burger and Fries to have on the same organization ever. So congratulations on that. Number 2, if you're gonna have trouble with putting Ziggy's TJ Hawkinson on the thumbnail, you guys are missing one of my favorite players in Minnesota. I love Josh Oliver. I think I grew up in the Mercedes Lewis. Just watching him in Green Bay and what a run blocking tight end can do for you. Man, I love watching Josh Oliver play. So that's not what I'm watching for in this game, but I just want to say I love me some Josh Oliver.
I love Josh too, but Josh Oliver will not be in the thumbnail.
I mean, hey, the Vikings love him too. He got a huge extension.
Oh, he's great.
Offseason.
He's great.
Well deserved for sure. No, I think the first thing, of course, is just okay. So I'm going to take a step back on this. You said that the Packers and the Lions is one of the biggest games of the year. I think this game, not only just as a Packers fan, NFC North fan, etc., is one of the most intriguing games of the year, because I think these two quarterbacks are two of the most unique mystery boxes and or lottery tickets, or however you want to view it, in the league right now, where you just don't have a full understanding of what these two are going to look like. If you told me that either or both or none of these quarterbacks went completely off in this game and had like super great efficiency, like 300 yards, maybe 3 touchdowns and an interception or something, or like 1 turnover. If you told me either of the quarterbacks did that, I'd be like, yeah, I could totally see it. If you told me either of them or both of them struggled and were like 13 of 27 with a touchdown and like 3 turnovers, I'd be like, yeah, I would totally believe that too. I have no idea what either of these quarterbacks are going to look like by the end of the season. I have no idea if we're talking about, oh my God, either of these teams have just found their franchise quarterback for the next decade plus, or if like, oh my God, both of these teams might be looking at quarterbacks in the next draft if this continues the way that it is. And we're not going to have a final answer by any of these stretch of the imagination at the end of this game. Both of them could look amazing and end up being terrible. Both of them could look terrible and end up being amazing. But this is like our first real information gathering of what JJ McCarthy looks like, period. And what, Caleb Williams looks like in this new offense with Ben Johnson after what was a tough rookie season for him. So as far as like the future of the NFC North goes, and just like NFC quarterbacks and just quarterbacks in the league in general, these are 2 top 10 draft picks. McCarthy, outside of, again, maybe the injury to Jefferson, suspension to Addison, long term with, like you mentioned, all the weapons on offense, he could not be in much better position. You now get what everyone is viewing as the next brain genius as an offensive mind in Ben Johnson, to get, him for Caleb Williams, not to mention all the pieces that they surrounded him with. What do these two look like? And it just feels like there is so much at stake for both of these franchises and in the NFC North long term. The Vikings-Bears is one of those games where usually I'm like, I don't even want to watch it, because if either of them do well, it's not fun for me. I just, but this is one that I am going to be locked in on for this particular game.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it too. It's the same way that Lions and Packers will kind of reveal, who's top dog right now. Vikings and Bears might just show who's going to be that next challenger to join them. And look, a lot of times those Vikings games in Chicago are very ugly, but you're right. It could be one where their explosive offenses are supposed to be. Like, I just have no idea what this game is going to look like. I will say the other spot, so offensive line is the key point for me on the offense. Defensively, I've really had concerns about the Vikings secondary this entire offseason. And obviously bringing back Byron Murphy was huge. But losing Cam Bynum was pretty big, despite all the celebrations and that getting the attention there. He was a pretty good football player too. And now we're looking at a fairly revamped with Isaiah Rodgers taking on this bigger role. My worry is that this secondary could get exposed. Now, having the great pass rush, as we mentioned, with Parsons helping the Packers, Vikings pass rush should be phenomenal this year. They're going to go deep along the defensive line. But my worry would be, and Ziggy, let me know if you agree with this. My worry is that this secondary doesn't live up to expectations, and we'll see how much time Jeff Okudah gets, and that's an experiment in its own right. Even though he's supposedly playing a lot better, that's where I'm most concerned. Is if this secondary starts to get picked apart, then in the NFC North with Love, with Goff, if Caleb plays really well, that can be problems during the season.
Yeah, I'm certainly worried about the secondary. I mean, I'm worried about the depth up and down the Vikings defense. I mean, the Vikings, if you look at, they signed 19 undrafted free agents initially. They kept 7 of them for the 53-man roster. So there were a lot of potential depth issues on this team. But the secondary is where it's the most worrying, I think. It's like on the defensive line, I mean, if like Grenard and Hargrave and Allen and Ivan Pace are all out, like we're screwed anyway. But with respect to the cornerbacks, besides Byron Murphy, I'm not really confident in any of these guys to be outstanding players. I mean, Harrison Smith is getting older and older.
And he might not even play. Like, we don't even know if he's going to play.
Yeah, who knows if he's even going to be healthy. Metellus is very versatile. But like outside of that, we're really counting on like one of Isaiah Rodgers or Jeff Okudah to be an outstanding player. And if we were just counting them to be okay, right, they're coming in as your cornerback 4, your cornerback 5, I'd feel a lot better about that. But the Vikings are really counting on having a guy break out in a big way. And I always get nervous. Jeff Okudah has been given a lot of chances with a lot of teams, right? This is not a guy who's going to a second organization after being somewhere really crummy. Good defenses have given him a chance and decided he just wasn't worth it. counting on a guy like that to have a breakout season, I mean, it could happen. If anybody can get unorthodox things out of players, it is Brian Flores. He was voted the second best defensive play caller by NFL coaches in an athletic poll recently. But we need that badly. And I always hate going into a season. As a Packers fan, Andy, I'm sure you're used to this, thinking we just need this position group to have an absolute breakout player or we're screwed.
Yeah, it's certainly been that way. And corners are one of those places that Green Bay wouldn't mind having somebody like that as well if a Carrington Valentine wants to step up in a significant way. And yeah, just kind of looking at it from your point of view, from a Vikings defensive backfield, there's not a ton. If I'm the Green Bay Packers or if I'm the Detroit Lions or one of those teams that I look in that secondary and be like, all right, we got a game plan for this guy. And it's not, again, to say that they can't have a collectively successful season. We just kind of talked about it in a very similar way with Green Bay's defensive backfield. But at least in that case, I feel really great about Xavier McKinney being on the back end and kind of protecting a lot of the stuff that happens. If Harrison Smith is healthy, he still has a little bit of that magic still left in him. But yeah, outside of that, and I actually really do like Josh Metellus as well. But yeah, Cam Bynum was another guy I really liked. And I don't think that's an insignificant loss to, what was it, Indianapolis, right? So yeah, I think that is going to be a really interesting aspect of this team to kind of keep an eye on.
Isaiah Rodgers is the guy. But Ziggy, you were talking about Okudah or Rodgers. They're investing heavily in Rodgers having a strong season. And there's no reason to think he can't, but you're giving someone a real opportunity here as the clear-cut number 2 on the roster. And I just hope, because we've had years where the secondary has fallen apart, and it could just, remember the year we played the Giants, right? in the playoffs and got obliterated. We're giving up 400 yards a game. And it's just like, you can't do anything, especially putting that much pressure on JJ to score. Obviously, I think this defense is much, much better with the front 7 than that unit was. But yeah, it could be, again, this game could go in many different directions. I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing both quarterbacks struggle out the gates, because they're pretty good defenses here. So, all right, to wrap this thing up, I think this wasn't on the docket, but maybe a little prediction time, guys. What do you think? May predict each game?
I have one question for you guys really quick before we get into that. One question for you guys. All right, let's say that the whole not being ready for the season is not a question. Bears call today and offer Caleb Williams for JJ McCarthy. Straight up, no questions asked. And again, we're not playing into it of they don't know the offense or whatever right before the season. That's not a piece of it. Are you taking the deal, yes or no?
I would.
Well, you said at the same time. I didn't get either of those.
I would do it. And I don't want anyone to get mad at me, but yeah, I think that Caleb's ceiling right now, not having watched JJ play, I think giving Caleb Williams to Kevin O'Connell, I think he could turn him into a great quarterback.
You said earlier in the show, Paul, that I love the mystery box. We've seen a season from Caleb Williams. It wasn't as outstanding as he would have liked, and we've seen younger quarterbacks come and have immediate success. Even though it was a disaster in Chicago last year, I'm sticking with JJ McCarthy. I want to see what this guy can do.
I'm supposed to say that. I really like it when the social clip comes out. That's really what I should say. And you want everyone to say he believes in his guy, and I do believe in JJ. I do think though that Caleb ended last year playing a lot better football, and he's got all the attributes. It's just a matter of kind of locking in mentally. And I would be really excited. I'd be more excited if the Vikings had Caleb under center, because I just don't know what to expect at all. I really, guys, have no idea what to expect with JJ McCarthy come Monday night. That's a great question, though, Andy.
I don't have anything to expect with either of them. Is again, the crazy part, again, which makes this so dang intriguing, where again, if either of them tore it up, would not be surprised. If either of them struggled mightily, would not be surprised, or anything in between. They're probably both average in this game, would be my guess. But man, if either of them do, I certainly the Bears or the Vikings, whichever one it is going to feel a whole lot more empowered going into the rest of the season, because their guy played really well in this game. We'll see what that amounts to. But yeah, this is again a really big, interesting first look at what these two offenses look like with these two quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I think about it. Yeah, go ahead, Ziggy. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, the thing about it is JJ McCarthy was incredibly good at not taking sacks in college when pressure was in his face. And Caleb Williams was incredibly bad at that. If you go back and look at them in the NFL draft, JJ McCarthy had one of the best pressure to sack rates in his class. Caleb Williams had by far the worst. And that's something that tends to be sticky in the NFL. And you saw it last year. Caleb Williams took a whole bunch of sacks. I'd be worried about that long term if I'm the Chicago Bears. Obviously, it's a new offense. Things can get better there. But I'd be worried about Caleb Williams and the pressure to sack rate last year.
Yeah, and we didn't mention it, but the new interior that the Bears have on that offensive line too is something that it's just both teams have so many things you could look for. So, all right, let's do this game first. Vikings-Bears. Ziggy, who you think comes home the winner in week 1?
As a Vikings fan, I'm supposed to be nervous anytime our team is looking good. But I really think that this could be a year where the Minnesota Vikings put out a solid performance. I'm not confident in this Bears team. I think it's going to take time for Caleb Williams to learn the offense. JJ McCarthy's been back there for a couple of years. I'm sticking with the Vikings for this one.
How about you, Andy?
I'm taking the Vikings. I don't like that it's in Chicago, and I don't like anytime you get a new coach, there's always like the desire to like set the standard right away and come out with a big win, especially when you're at home. I just think Minnesota is a lot more experienced with their coaching staff, their defensive coordinator, knowing how to win games like this. Like you said, like they've been very successful, especially from a regular season standpoint in the Kevin O'Connell era. And until I see that out of Chicago, I'm going to stick with Minnesota in this one, but I do think it's going to be very close.
I'm also going to go with the Vikings. Surprise, surprise. I'm going to go with the Vikings. But I do think that if you had to pick one quarterback who might make some more mistakes, I actually think Caleb is the answer. I don't think he's going to be as reckless as he was last year. But if there was ever a time for that to happen, it would be week 1. It would probably be against a defense like this that's going to get after him. So I lean towards the Vikings. I can easily see Chicago winning this game. But I think the Vikings will do enough on offense and be steady enough where we'll be able to come away with the win. And, if one of these teams looks great, like you said, Andy, before, the entire NFC kind of takes notice because the rosters are good enough to really have a special season. It's just a matter of, will one of these two quarterbacks really take off? And it's even just saying it now, it feels unrealistic to think that JJ could do that coming off the meniscus. But, we've seen it with Stroud and Daniels, so you never know.